Hi, this is Christian Jones, and you're listening to the Pro Marketer podcast, where whether you're in tax compliance, tax preparation, resolution accounting, or many of the other slices of our crazy tax and accounting space, we're here to bring you tools and strategies to market and build your practice like a pro. So welcome, guys, everyone that's listening. We're glad to have you with us. We've got a repeat guest. We've got Andy Frye with us from the Pronto Tax School. Andy, you can say hello.
Hello, everybody.
And I am going to build you up and butter you up a little bit before we get into it. Andy,
I'm ready.
He's a third-generation tax business entrepreneur. He's personally prepared over 100,000 tax returns, that's a lot.
10,000.
10,000. Oh, 10,000. My mistake. 10,000 tax returns.
I'm not that old, man.
Oh my goodness, 100,000. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I missed a zero. And he is the founder and CEO of the Pronto Tax School, Inc., which we're going to talk about today. We've got other stories and things from Andy's experience that I'm sure will be helpful, but we're going to focus on the Pronto Tax School. He's got 100,000 plus online courses delivered through the Pronto Tax School training system since 2011, which, hey, well done, Andy. That's a lot. And he's regularly in touch with and training, helping over 20,000 independent tax professionals. So if you are in the tax and accounting space, which I would assume as you're listening to this podcast, that's probably the case. But if especially you're an independent tax professional or an accounting professional with your own firm and you're looking for a guide or some help or some feedback through this conversation, I think you're listening to the right person. Andy's also a personal friend of mine. I've been at events with him and I've seen the way he carries himself and his level of expertise and excellence. And Andy, we're glad to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Honor to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Andy, give me a little history. Give me a little backstory. The Pronto Tax School, we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about education, but how did that get started and what was kind of the passion behind that organization for you, that thing that began?
Yeah, so I started with our family tax business, which my grandfather had started way back in the 1960s, and my dad has been running for many years along with one of my uncles. They were business partners working together for a number of years. And so I came into the business in 2001, and they had already built something pretty awesome, as small businesses go. We had several offices in the Southern California, Los Angeles area. We had a very strong following in the Latino community. So all of our offices were bilingual, Spanish and English. My dad, my uncle, as well as the team members there, Bertha, Raina, Anna, just people that I knew from being around the business as a kid, and just like stuffing envelopes, handing out flyers in the neighborhoods and doing that kind of family business stuff, getting put there when I was having bad behavior at the house. So I get brought to the office, things like that, right?
Yeah.
And so I got into the business and I really noticed that, hey, this is a business that can be expanded. This is a great foundation that my dad, my uncle, and all the other team members have built. And so I came in with a technology focus, an innovation focus, and pretty entrepreneurial mindset of how can we expand this business. And so one of the things that we really ran into as we were opening new offices, as well as growing our existing offices, was training. And so every time we would bring in a new person, or even when we would bring in somebody that maybe had some experience, Christian, but was new to our company, we had a certain way that we wanted our clients to experience our service. And I wanted, because I was kind of inspired by the E-Myth and the franchise model and things like that, I wanted to have that consistent experience across our teammates. And I felt like that was really important to being able to expand our business successfully. So what we came to a point, though, is that we started hiring people, bringing more people on regularly, advancing our existing team members. And there wasn't a lot of training out there that was really tuned into our needs as like a mom and pop family business, not some fancy like big firm or things like that. And so we started just really tuning up and refining our own training materials internally for our employees. And then around 2010, 2011, we said, you know what, there's a lot of other independent tax offices and tax businesses that need a lot of this same training. Let's see if we can get approved to offer continuing education. So we went through various licensing things like that, and just were able to find a niche of smaller tax businesses that do want to get better every day, that do want to advance, that do want to be able to give the best service to your clients that you possibly can. And so we started really training, empowering, encouraging that group of people. And that group of people has really carried us, for the 10, 12 years we've been in business and just really helped us get to where we are today.
No, that's wonderful, man.
Does that make any sense at all?
It does. It makes a ton of sense. And let's flash forward now to today, right? So we're obviously in the middle of tax season at this moment, and you guys are probably in the trenches with some of your folks. What are the things that you're seeing from 2010 when you started to now, 13 plus years later? What are the things that you're running into with people that are customers of the Pronto Tax School? Biggest challenges? What are the things that people bring to you when they come in and say, hey, yeah, I need continuing education, but I do need that training. I need that help. What are the most common problems that you guys are coaching and training people through right now?
Yeah, I think there's 2 or 3 major ones that we see. And even, there's been this amazing kind of group of teachers and trainers that I feel like are addressing some of the same market we are. So I feel like it's, as an independent tax pro, I'm so jealous of the training and stuff that we get now and a lot of the stuff that you guys have done in empowering our group. And so I think it's important to get training from various sources. And what I hear from those sources, as well as from our members, Christian, is one of the biggest pain points is definitely the same, like I started out with, adding team members. We're hearing a lot of things of like, when you're at an expert level as a tax pro, start to have a problem with capacity, and you start to have a problem with your service level potentially going down as your clients go up, your number of clients go up. And so then you're tempted to, and you want to add employees and hire employees. What happens in that process a lot of times, and I know a lot of you independent tax pros can relate to this if you tried it, is that when you hire employees, you're bringing an actual person into your situation that has their own dreams, their own goals.
Right.
They're not just a means to an end. They're an actual human being that is looking at their own career, at their own life and all that. And there's a lot of messes that happen related to that, because as the expert level tax pro, you may feel like you're too busy to really give this person the kind of training that they need, for example, to give them the kind of support that they need. And so adding team members a lot of times in a tax business results in headaches, results in work not being done as well as the owner or the key senior people would do it. And also results a lot of times, Christian, in lower profits. So
Right.
you could be hiring and feel like we're growing and growing, and your bottom line is actually going down. And so that adding team members, building a team is one of the main things we see. And then secondly, I think a big trend that we see that is and I think even the first one, it fits in this category too, but it's a big challenge and it's also a big opportunity, is the trend in the tax business is towards owners and self-employed and entrepreneurs being the growing client group that really needs professionals. As opposed to when I started in the business, we used to do a ton of short forms, like I was doing tax returns for like $40 and I would do 20 of them in a day, where it was just like people with normal jobs, W-2, takes 10 minutes to do their taxes. That market has, while I still think there is a market there, it's not growing nearly as much as the entrepreneurs, the self-employed, the people that are setting up these little partnerships for real estate deals and all that. So as a tax pro, you're constantly needing to level up your knowledge,
Right.
and level up your network also, because you could study as much as you want about these different types of business, because business people, as you know, Christian, being one of them, we're very creative. So we'll always be throwing curves at you, curveballs all the time. And so not only having your learning, right, but having your network tuned up, where if I don't know something, I know who to talk to about this. I have a resource to address. So I think those things, adding team, creating a strong team, and then also the focus on business tax work or more complex tax work, those are the 2 main challenges we see among independent tax pros.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, Andy, we see a lot of that too. So we're right there with you at TaxProMarketer. We've got a lot of clients who are coming to us and saying, hey, I want to grow, I want to expand, but especially your first point of adding team members. Let's camp out there for a little bit, because that seems like a really relevant topic to spend a podcast on. And I think we can also get to your second point and find our way around other things as well. But how would I say this? I want to ask this as a question, but let me just, again, jive with you a little bit. A big problem for our clients is hiring. It's hiring. It's one because of like supply, it feels like at times, which I'd love for you to push back on and say, no, that's not the case. Is there enough workers who are able to step into this field or that can be trained in this field? Which I think you guys have a solve for. But secondly, it's the culture piece. It's what you talked about when you began that point of you have to shift your modality. You have to shift your thinking from I am a pro, I'm a tax professional, or I'm an accountant. I know how I like things done and I know how to do things, to I'm leading a business. Do you find that as well to be a big gear shift for people that you guys work with, from I'm doing all the work to now I'm having to empower and entrust others to do it for me? Talk about that for a little bit, Andy.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's honestly one of the things I've been actually following Nate and you and Troy and your guys' team of what you've been doing over the past really 2-3 years about putting more focus on culture, on team building, on creating opportunities for team members, on actually paying attention to team members and understanding them and relating to them as human beings. I really admire what you guys have been doing. I've been, as you know, on many of your kind of private meetings for your clients that you guys have looked at that and really helped us navigate that. And so I just think it's huge, man, because it's really hard to get to a point of confidence technically with taxes where you have people that are in a stressed out mode, aka clients, right? Where they are coming to you and putting stress into you and complexity into your world, and you're getting hit on a given day during tax season by 10 of those situations, right? Where somebody's like, I'm so stressed out, I have all this complicated stuff going on, let me throw it in this person's face and they're going to help me out with that. So just to get a level where you can go through your day and you're just like handling it, right? You're like, bang, oh, you're stressed out, like taken care of, bang. It's like, oh, handled. It's like this. It takes a while to get to that point. And so when you get to that point, it's pretty enjoyable. It's like there's certain days where you're like, wow, I'm like crushing it like this and I'm making tons of money. I'm built like everything I do, I'm charging like $500 or $1,000, or I'm just like crushing it. I'm making great money. I'm confident. I'm working. And so you're like, that you have the dedication to technical excellence and client service excellence has gotten you to a good place.
Yeah.
So if you say you've gotten to a good place, and now to go to this next good place, you have to do things quite different than what has gotten you to this point. Just human nature is going to say that that's going to be quite difficult, right? I mean, that's going to be quite difficult. So and we do this a lot with our Dream Team membership, which I know you guys are talking about with your clients, is everybody wants to grow in theory, right? But why do you want to grow? What do you want to, you're talking about growing like your overall sales? Okay. What would happen if you grew your sales and you had the same profit or less profit?
Right.
What would happen? Would you be happy? Would you be sad? Would you say that's just part of the process? So you got to know that ahead of time, unless you want to just learn everything the hard way, right? Because for example, let's say you want to add a team member. One thing that we have learned over the years is that the senior tax preparer, the senior tax consultant on our team, for us to effectively bring in a really high quality team member, Christian, and really recruit them in and say, this is the person that we want to plug into our system and have them be our next. We use 100,000 in billing as somebody that's like doing well as a tax preparer, right? So we want this person to plug in and put them on a path to 100,000 in billing within a year or two. That's our goal, right? In order to do that, I need to ask my senior tax consultants, and I've done this myself, to essentially feed that person a good number of clients and revenue out of your billings. And you need to also be able to have that conversation with those clients to say, because there's a social aspect, right? The clients will be like, what, you changed? I mean, you got these new people and now I'm not important. So now you're just going to put me to some other new person that doesn't know what they're doing. So just a couple of those interactions, if you have people that want to grow and you're like, that conversation is going to scar you for life.
Yeah.
You better prepare ahead of time. And then you also better know that that's going to happen. That's part of the process. That's part of the process. Part of the process is if I give you, let's say I give a new tax preparer 25,000 in revenue out of my billings. Okay. I now have to support that tax preparer in those relationships. So I have to let the clients know, hey, this is going to be your point of contact. This person, they are trained up at XYZ. They have access to these support resources. They will call on me if they have any questions about your situation. I have prepped them and told them about you so that they know you personally enough to help you. Those are all things that need to happen for that to be successfully, that handoff to happen successfully. And then financially, I've got to go fill up and be able to acquire clients to fill up that revenue, because I'm going to be giving part of that revenue to the new person. So that's where like TaxProMarketer comes in, right? Like since we're constantly inundated with referrals and new business and what you guys do with your Google My Business presence and ranking #1 and things like this, right? We have constantly new clients coming in, right? So those are a couple things that no one really told me about how that worked when I was starting to hire people. And then I would start getting into a situation, Christian, where it was like, I feel like I hired you, you're in my office and you're sitting there, and the only thing that's come of me hiring you, even though I like you and everything, is me like making less money.
Right. Right.
So we're looking to break that cycle and say, how do you bring somebody into your business in a way that's positive for you and positive for them? And I think you guys have been doing an amazing job of that culture piece of, because that's a big part of it, is that not hanging the person out to dry, right? Like if they make a mistake, the new person, right? Your client that you sent to the new preparer, they make a mistake, okay? The temptation is for the client to throw that person right under the bus. They're not as good as you. They don't know what they're doing. This is what I was afraid of. They've made a mistake. And you have a temptation to say, yeah, you know what? Mistakes happen for these newer people. But for you to handle that from a culture point of view, that person is going to quit. If you do that, they are going to not be there. So that's just some of the psychological things you got to go through. And dealing with people is, as you know, it's a challenge.
Yeah. Well, and Andy, what that makes me think about is you get someone coming to the Pronto Tax School, how I want to grow. And you start to probe and ask some searching questions. And you come to a place where not everyone may actually want to grow the way that they think they do. Some people, the vision for their business may not be to 3x or 5x or 10x their revenue and change seats, if it were, and get out of being the expert and be into leadership of other people. And that's okay. That's not good or bad. It just is, right? You might want to grow and you can expand in other ways, right? You have plenty of trainings that speak to more than just the other side of growth, which is, I do want to build a team. I do want to get out of doing the paperwork. I do want to build a business that could turn into a legacy, which requires you not to be in the front of everything. You can't be on the front lines of everything. So when you get there, kind of what I hear you saying is really getting dialed in on what your vision is, and then your values, which are, again, you could call it mission statement and vision statement as well. But like for us, what we found that works, although, hey, we're in the tax and accounting space, we're not doing tax work, but we do have a lot of happy people. And I know you do too, Andy. And this kind of from the leader, from the onset of a new development in organization, what's our vision and what are our values? What are we going to do when stuff hits the fan and gets complicated and stressed and people fail? That actually feels to me like no matter what organization we're talking about, if you have clear vision and clear values, obviously there could be some nuance of having more effective values than another group or whatever, and they're not always equal, but even just working through that process, it seems like it has a high level of correlation between success with organizations that do that work before the bullets are flying. Because you're right. Do you not see this too, Andy, that like people that even just start hiring, they lose talent quickly because they haven't thought through how to build a team and handle employee mistakes and train and equip. So from a vision and value standpoint, talk about that. That's a subset of culture building, but it's a big part of it. What do you see for the groups that you work with that do expand well, that take your training and grow? What are the things you see that they're doing, that they're prioritizing, that they're believing about their organization that helps them be successful?
Yeah, absolutely. We have been privileged to really grow with our members. We have really a couple thousand members that have been with us for, gosh, like 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And to see those people growing their businesses in a way that works for them and what their vision of success is really, it's so gratifying. It's actually really humbling for me. Like when people reach out to me and say, hey, like our family business, we've been able to bring in, my brother now works with us as well as my mom and my aunt, and it's not a big disaster. Because that's the thing about that could, family businesses, you can get into some real conflicts and it's a loaded situation, right? So to have those members be able to grow and for us to really just be a part of that. But if, just mentioning even like vision and values, like we can have people say that, because when you're in that go, go, go mode and you're just like grinding, pounding out work, you're like highly profitable, you're very highly skilled. Maybe you have one assistant or two assistants that do a lot of the data entry. So you got that off your plate to some degree, and you're just like crushing work, like clients, you can get new clients whenever you want. You're always getting referrals, all like that, right? For you to step back from that and say, I need to look at vision and values and go to a retreat and like, I need to go talk to somebody about my feelings or whatever. You're like, oh, that sounds like a bunch of corporate speak. I'm just going to crush this. Every time I'm looking at my vision and values, Christian, it'd be like, how long is this going to take me? How long is it going to take me to find out? Christian, you said vision and values important. I went to your webinar. How long is it going to take me? Okay, it's going to take me 5 hours. So that's going to cost me, in addition to whatever I pay you for the event, it's going to cost me like $3,000 because I'm not going to be doing it, right? So if you have that point of view, it's okay in terms of if you want to stay in that spot where you're at. Or if you're just like one of these people that like, which is actually more like how I was like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out once I get into it. There'll be some pain associated, which will cause me to need to figure it out. So that'll be more motivating. So if you are willing to learn things the hard way about how important this is, that's one thing, but it's an expensive learning process. It's expensive for your relationships. It's expensive for your business. A lot of people go out of business during that time period of trying to figure this out. Yeah. So when it comes to values, right, this is so important. Everybody on your team should know what your values are, because a lot of these choices in business they're not a choice between, nobody's like, I want to give my clients bad service, right? Mostly, occasionally they're out of the business. Right. Yeah. I mean, but they're out of the business really quickly. They just like trying to do whatever, then they just leave. And it's just very short term, right? Nobody's saying I want to give bad service. Everybody says I want to give really good service, but what is that for you? What are the values behind that make you stand out in the marketplace? And are your team members aware of that? For example, for us, we had focused early on when we were starting to have these conversations, because I started realizing there's a bunch of people in this office and across our number of offices that they may not know what we stand for in the community or how to relate to clients. So we settled on 3 main values of friendly, professional, and efficient. So friendly is, I want our tax office to be somewhere when like Cheers, like everybody knows your name, like when you come in. And so you have to put that value high. When you're hiring people, you have to say, I remember, for example, this one gentleman that we had hired from Liberty Tax, he was like, he knew how to do taxes. He had done like 1,000 tax returns the year before. And I was like desperate to get some relief just on the volume of tax returns that I was doing in the office. So I'm like, okay, this guy can be a workhorse. He can come in here. My dad came in a couple times I was in my like little field office where he let me kind of do what I want to do. And the second time he came in and worked with the guy, he just let him go that day. And I wasn't even there. And he just said, thank you. You're no longer employed here and you're done. And best of luck to you, that type of thing. And I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? I thought you said, and he's just like, yeah, he's just not friendly. So he's just not friendly to clients. He just doesn't try to tell jokes. He doesn't try to listen to clients' jokes, and it's just not there. And another one was efficiency, right? So if I have somebody at Pronto Income Tax where this person cannot close out work, right? They are like trying to it's 75, and sometimes I do this myself, right? Where it's like, you want to get everything so right, and that's great, but you've got to build efficiency into your process, because a lot of our value proposition was on affordability. So you need to be able to close out work. And so we can teach you how to do that. but you have to be committed to that. You have to say, this is part of what we do here. And if you can't live with that, then this is not the right fit for you to be. You can be at another place that they're not as focused on that, let's say. So I think what those values, like for people that are listening, what are your top 2 or 3 values that really important to you with regard to your business? You should be able to express that. If you want to have a team, if you're just yourself, right? Or maybe one other person, maybe they're a relative, maybe you guys just kind of know that from you're all in the same stew, you're in the same culture already. But once you start bringing in outside people, if I'm working with you, I want to know that because that's inspiring to me and it gives me direction. Is that people want direction when they're at work. They want clarity about what their measurables are, right? So if you can tell people, hey, our top 2 or 3 values are this, you're ahead of the game. You're way ahead of the game as far as your marketing, and especially if those values match up with your client group values and those match well, right? And also you're well ahead of the game for teams. So as you can tell, I really haven't thought too deeply about these kind of things.
Oh, I love it. Like that's where if you do hire and even fire and train and build a team within a thought through, thorough vision and values, and thorough doesn't even have to mean long, just things that you feel are true and are real and are things that are authentic to what you want to do in your business. Eventually you get a team of people who carry that for you. And you don't have to be the only one saying, just get the work done and do it as fast as possible, but they're not a part of something bigger. And I think that's a part of, the training you guys provide. I know your Dream 100 group, the people that you're working with, those that get clear on this, it does create we're a part of something bigger than just doing tax returns. Because if that's all it is, eventually that person will probably just start their own thing, right? And just say, I can make more money. I've got enough experience. But you might, tell me if I'm wrong, Andy, you might be able to keep and retain good talent if you make it bigger than just doing forms. Am I wrong on that?
And it's such an interesting process because you think that, hey, I need to make it bigger. And you do. You need to make it bigger in your own mind. You need to make it bigger in your team members' minds and in your clients' minds. And you also just need to realize that it is bigger. It is bigger. It is like we, especially being in the Latino community, we had seen a lot of during, let's say, the subprime mortgage crisis. Like we would notice that a lot of the people in that community were being taken advantage of on financial products and being told things that were not true because they weren't reading the contract in their native language, for example, right? So when you start speaking into recruiting and hiring the younger generation of Latino, there are some men as well, but a lot of women, like younger Latino women. When you start talking to those people about you are financially looking out for these group of people, and you're probably the only one that they trust, because a lot of Americans, right, whatever ethnicity, they don't have some financial advisor that
Right.
They might have somebody managing their investments, right? But who do they trust the most of their financial life, right? In a lot of communities, it's their tax guy or their tax lady. So if you are that person where you're telling that person, hey, you know what, let's give a quick call to your loan officer and let me clarify this for you real quick. Let me get your back on this and make sure you understand what's going on here. Let me refer you to somebody that might be able to help you a little bit better in that and watch out for your money, right? People, when the younger generation sees like, these are my parents and these are my grandparents that a lot of times are being taken advantage of for these things, right? So I get to be somebody in my community that is educating our clients, educating our community, telling one person something, and that person's going to then share that knowledge with 10 other people, right? That is going to create a wheelhouse of referrals, right? Because people are going to say, wow, you're really respecting me as a person. You're educating me. You're really looking out for my best interest. So when you join as a team member and you say, I mean, even me just talking about it, I get excited. I'm like, wow, this is awesome that people get to trust us in this way. And the price for that is we have to earn that trust. You can't just sit on that. You can't be like, oh, my dad he built this business. No, you've got to earn that. You've got to take that to the next level. And so when people hear that kind of, you actually care and it actually is bigger, it's not just you're trying to make it bigger, but actually is bigger and actually does matter.
Yes.
Man, they get psyched up. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, I could start my own business. Pretty much everybody working with us right now. And I don't actually, one thing I prefer not to say is I don't use the word working for us.
Right.
I use the word working with us because we are all working together in a corporation, and we're working like someone could be the CEO and someone could be the most junior tax preparer. But at the end of the day, we're working together. I would say everybody that works with us, Christian, could start their own business, their own tax business tomorrow
Right.
and do fine. But would they have that sense of purpose? Would they have that team camaraderie? Would they have that person to call, multiple people to call or email or text when they need help, right? Would they have somebody that if they get in trouble with a client, where some clients, for what it's like oil and water, you just don't mix with them, you just can't communicate. Would they have the option to just trade in another professional to just pick up that relationship and say, hey, you know what, this has gone a little bit sideways. I'm going to step in. I'm going to help you out, client. I'm going to communicate with you. I'm going to resolve this. Meanwhile, this professional, you can go ahead and just get back to billing, get back to enjoying your life, and you'll be fine, right? So would you have that? And people make that calculation. They say, no, I would not have that. So I think I'm pretty much good here, with the caveat, Christian, and I think you can understand this very well, is that people want to have, just like we want to have a vision for our business, people that come into our business want to have a vision for their life of where they are going. So they're not just statically sitting in one place, right? Making like a set amount of money. They want to say, you know, like for instance, we have a lot of moms in our business that are amazing tax preparers. You know, they're very patient, used to dealing with difficult people, all those kinds of things, right? So
Dealing with angry, frustrated children. Yes.
that's right, people crying and things like that. You know, it just happens during tax season. So but let's say you have a mom that's working a full-time job, right? And they're making, let's say they're making like 60,000 a year. Okay, but they work 9 to 5 every day, right? So they're essentially having their kids in childcare. They're having somebody else spend a lot more time with their kids than they are. But we've seen during COVID some of the lack of flexibility that can be really challenging with regard to that. So if you say to that person, hey, you know what? Our vision for you here is to be making more money than you're currently making at your job, and working about 50% of the hours that you are now, and with flexibility. So you can set your own schedule, and so there's going to be a process to get to that point, but that's our vision for you. And is that something that you're interested in? Is that appealing? You want that. And the person a lot of times will say, you know what, that's exactly what I want. I just don't want to miss my kids' basketball games or baseball games, or one of my kids is a special needs, so I want to spend more time. I have some things that I need to do with them, right? Whatever our own life, or they need to take care of their parents, whatever it might be. What is their vision for their career? And following that up, right? Like every 6 months saying, hey, how is this going for you? What could be different that could push you a little bit more towards this? Or maybe it's the business owner saying, hey, you know what? For us to really fulfill this for you, we need you to bill more. Now, we need to figure out between us how you're going to generate more revenue to be able to get you where you want to go, where we also can be where we need to be. And so those are the kinds of conversations that, you know, if you're sitting there pounding out tax work or pounding out accounting work, man, there's a lot of emotional content in those kinds of conversations. But I think what's so great about it, right, is just trying to do it, even if you fail and you don't do it, quote, right, is so endearing to people. They're like, wow, like you actually care. You're taking time. You could be off billing a client, but you're actually here, like paying attention to what's my vision for my career. I mean, wow, that really makes an impression on me. And people that are willing to do that we see of our members, they may not be always a straight line to success, but they're always successful.
Yeah.
They're never not successful, because you got to know, for our business, as you guys know, is that the demand is always there from the clients.
Right.
The demand is always there. So if you can find a way to service that demand between yourself and any other team members that you add in a really good way, you're always going to have work coming in, and things are going to be fine. But if you want to do things the way of like, oh, vision and values, that's just a bunch of nonsense. That's something that Andy and Christian were talking about on some podcast, or that was like interesting or whatever. Well, you know, the results speak for themselves. The people that prioritize these kinds of things and make strong efforts towards them, and maybe it doesn't work perfectly, so you try something differently, man, it works. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah. Which is the thing that probably catches people's attention who may not want to go this way first, is that actually some of the most successful organizations are emotionally mature and able to like have human to human relationships, be somewhat more relevant than just cranking work. Taking care of people actually
Absolutely.
does create success. And it is not to, and I like your other values, right? It's not to the detriment of being professional or efficient. Those all have to be in tension. Your values have to be in tension, but I would imagine you putting friendly even first on your value list is intentional. Maybe that was just happenstance, but that you put more of the human side from your team to your clients. And I know that that carries on within your internal team of how you guys treat each other, that might be like a gear shift of challenging someone to think through, yeah, like people do want to be a part of something bigger than just making money or just getting experience or new knowledge so they can go launch their own thing. Like if you can find a way, which kind of requires you to get vision, which does require sometimes a retreat and some content and help and coaching. And that's where you guys come in, Andy, with your dream team and with other things in content and courses. You guys do help people become more professional. You do help them. I love what you said earlier too, not just be someone that can keep them compliant, but help them feel like you're their trusted advisor, right? That's something we love too. We love equipping and providing content that goes beyond just, hey, here's your deadlines and the paperwork and the whatever, right? Like the people that want to train or teach, you'll create a following. You will, but you guys help with all of that, which is wonderful. I mean, you've talked about some of your most successful organizations are the ones that have these vision and these values dialed in. But let's change gears as we approach the end of our time. Let's pretend I am a new applicant for your dream team or for one of your other programs, but let's go with dream team. What are the first things you're going to ask me to do as I onboard with this team and this program? What are the things that I would need to be mulling around and bringing back to you as I start to apply and get engaged with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that our tax school works is we have two main memberships. So we have what's called the Forever Edition membership, and then we have the Dream Team membership. And so the Forever Edition membership is for people that want to get all their updates, all their kind of what's new and what does it mean for me, right? All your refreshers, all your CE or CPE, some really good kind of community support as you go along your tax career. So let's say you're like a veteran, like my dad, right? He's been doing taxes for 50 years. He'd be like, we all can teach each other things. So it's not like you can't learn anything new, but he's like, I'm pretty much good. I need to know my updates. I kind of know what I'm doing, right? So the Forever Edition is under $100 a year. So it's just like a very affordable kind of streamlined program. And then we have our Dream Team membership, which is more like, I'm here now and I want to get to this point, right? And so when you go into that program, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to have a conversation with our chief support officer, Glenn Weiland, who's been in the tax business tax industry for 40 plus years, worked with all the big brands that and just really passionate about helping people develop their business and their career. We're going to have a conversation right at the beginning of what does your vision of success look like? Because it can be different for everybody. And what we want to empower is that it doesn't have to be the same for everybody. Like it can be somebody's vision of success can be, I want to keep my full-time job. And this is actually fairly common, right? Like somebody's, let's say, I'm thinking of one member that he's in his 50s. So he knows retirement's coming up sometime soon, but he loves his current job, and it's a pretty intense job. It's like an executive level job. My definition of success when I'm him coming into the Dream Team program is I want to add 100 clients and $30,000 of supplemental income per year without interfering with my family life and my job and my current job, right? But we need to know that at the front end of the program, because that is what is going to enable us to say, what are you looking to get out of this program and how can we help you? Because we have so many resources in that program that we want to be able to pinpoint for you what are the most important resources that are going to make the biggest difference for you, right? So we need to have that conversation initially. And most tax pros, Christian, let me know if you guys see this among your customer group as well, is no matter what our particular vision of success is, we're probably in this industry, in the tax industry, for kind of three main things. And these are the attributes that we try to lead people towards, right? And we all try to lead ourselves towards as well. Freedom and flexibility. Okay. So I want to be able to have freedom and flexibility over my work and over my life. So a lot of our members, for example, they like to travel. They like to travel to different countries. They like to, like you were just saying, you were in Colorado, et cetera, right? So freedom and flexibility. I want to make my own schedule, that type of thing. I want to really help people. I want to feel like on a daily basis, I am helping people and I'm making a difference for people that need my help. And then thirdly, I want to make great money. Like I want to make really great money based on the hours that I work. I don't want to make $15 an hour. I don't want to make $20 an hour. I want to make a significant amount of money based on the value that I provide. So those are three things that people want. But within that, we need to know in that additional conversation, how many hours per year do you want to work ideally? How much do you want to earn from your tax activity? Because we can reverse engineer that, right? And you can see very clearly that if you want to work this amount of hours, right? And you want to make this amount, your numbers are going to need to be XYZ for your pricing in order to get to that point. So then when you look at your pricing, you're going to have to say, your value in the marketplace is going to have to be more than your pricing, or at least we would like to see it be more than your pricing. We would like to see the clients look at you and say, this is a great investment of my money. So what's it going to take for you to get to that point where you can charge people this and have them happy to pay? But it all comes back to that clarity. And so you have some people that come into the program and they think this program, since I invested in this, that this is going to put me to XYZ. No, you're going to put yourself to that. We're going to guide you and help you to do that.
Yes.
But we got to know where we even try to get to. And maybe along the journey, Christian, as you know, from having a great career yourself, things can change, right? Like my vision of success when I started in the business is much different than it is now. And that's fine. That's part of the process. But we got to at least know some basics around where do you want to go? Because when we get to that point and we get there together, we got to recognize it. We got to enjoy it. And there's going to be all decisions along the way, go this way versus this way, that if we are not making decisions based on where we want to get to, we're not going to end up in that place most likely.
Well, and you're probably going to drift towards just being endlessly busy and successful in some ways, but not able to recognize it. Like you said, not able to celebrate it, not able to see that you either got to your destination or you don't even like the place you got to. And this wasn't the vision. And you just said yes to everything that came your way. And so I love that. And so that's a huge freebie to everyone that's listening. That is the beginning process of becoming a part of the dream team. And there's a couple of memberships there with Andy's group, the Pronto Tax School. But that's a great thing as you leave this podcast. Maybe don't tune out and go back to your inbox. Maybe ask yourself, hey, what is my vision for success? And Andy's team is here. If you want to really dig into that, they have all the tools, all the training, and countless examples of people that have gone through this process and come out the other side with clarity, with vision, and then with the ability to go build towards something, right? Building towards something as opposed to just, again, how many people right now are just burnt out because they're forgetting in the midst of the craziness of the last few years in the tax world, they're forgetting even because they're so busy and stressed why they even got into it to begin with. So if that's
really common, and that's actually our main dream team group is like mid-career people. So not people that are just starting out, but maybe they're in the business right now, Christian. They said, you know what? I feel, and that's how I feel too, is like, man, I feel like I just got punched in the face like 100 times over the past, 2, 3, it's actually been more like 5 years of just all these changes, all this, right? I feel like I knew what I wanted when I got in this industry. And now I'm just like busier than I even know what to do with. And I don't even know what is a good day for me? Like, it's just like, I'm just waking up, I'm grinding this out. And the great thing is that we don't actually need to live that way. Like, it's not actually necessary. And there is a better way. And a lot of times, as you know, too, is we find a better way a lot of times by walking along with other people who have actually done what you're trying to do.
Right.
So if you look at my business career, I live in North Carolina now. My tax business is in California. So I've already done a lot of when somebody says, hey, I want my business to be able to run without me being there every day. I've already done that. And I know many other of our members who have also, are on varying stages of that path. So we got to get in with people and have people in our network and be able to walk together it's going to be a lot better outcome than just going by ourselves and trying to figure it out all by ourselves. And so that's kind of the idea of the dream team. Very privileged to have some really great members that, we have mentors, right? But then we also have members that are mentors and people that when you come into the program, we want it to be like, wow, I now actually have a group of people that actually want to see me get to where I want to go.
Right.
Because as independents, I was always like, nobody wants to see me successful. They want to see me like out of business. You have that chip on your shoulder, and that can be helpful. But what can also be helpful is finding out, hey, this is a group of people that I can plug into. And that's a lot of what we get from your guys' services too. We know that we have people rooting for us, and not only rooting for us, right, but actually working for us. Like they're actually doing things that actually work, are effective, and are going to help me get to where I want to go and have some fun along the way.
I love that. I love that. And Andy, you are a port in the storm. And so if you're listening to this right now and you're that mid-career, although I'm sure, again, to pause before I go this direction, Andy can help anyone in any place. I think that that's been established. He can help anyone at any place of their career. But if you are in the middle of your career, as you see it, and feeling like you're hitting a wall and you're grinding and you maybe even want to quit and just find something else, time out, take a breath, and talk to Andy, because Andy is someone that can help reinvigorate, reconfigure, and give you a pathway that, again, he's not going to do it for you, but he can be a guide, and his team, his mentors, the thing he's built and the experience he has. And having been in the room with some of Andy's kind of not key members, that's probably not the right way to say it, but veteran members, people that have been through that program and are building those types of firms, there is a plethora. There are just dozens of really competent, smart, intelligent people who also want to give away experience. And I've seen them do it. And so, Andy, you are not the only one doing that in your group. I've seen other team members from your Pronto Tax School exhibit that same character and care for people that hey, I don't get any benefit from telling you this other than helping each other and being a part of a community. And so I applaud you for that. And again, I hope that you guys that are listening to this, if that's you at all, please go reach out to Andy. And Andy, where would you tell them to go to start this conversation with you? Where would we want to direct them if they want to talk with you more after this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website, prontotaxschool.com, is really our hub for learning about our efforts, learning about what results that we've helped people get in the past, what's currently going on, like anything new, anything timely. So I would start there, prontotaxschool.com. And then our main mode of communication are our email updates. So we send out a lot of free stuff on our email list, like free checklists, free tools, keeping you updated of the latest tax updates, as far as what you need to know to serve your clients the best way, changes, that kind of thing, and just keeping you abreast of that. So to get on our email list, it's prontotaxschool.com/subscribe. And also on our website, we have a bunch of free stuff. So usually people start with us, Christian, by just taking in some free resources, saying, hey, let me check these guys out. Let me see what they're doing. Let me see if I enjoy this at a free level. So I would get on the email list, visit our website, maybe pick up a free course, pick up a free tool that you can use in your tax business today. And on our hope, if we help you along at no cost, you're going to say at some point, you know what, I want to support what they're doing for the industry, for independent tax pros. I want to be a part of what's going on. And you mentioned about the members that are, that we saw, for example, at our event last year that we did with you guys, of people generously sharing their knowledge. And the great thing about it is that they do get something out of it, because what happens is that people that are in front of other tax pros. So let's say we have 3 mentor sessions per week where people mastermind live with other tax pros on these little small group meetings with a mentor leading the discussion, right? So the people that speak up on these mastermind sessions, Christian, and share into the chat, hey, have you looked at this? Did you guys see this? The people that are giving into the community are getting tons of business.
Yeah.
Because if you're the crypto tax guy and you're in this meeting, I have 2 other crypto tax situations that I don't really want to deal with. And I'd rather just, since I'm getting to know you in this environment and I trust you and I like you, and I see that you're generously sharing your knowledge, I'm going to refer you this, and this is a couple $1,000s worth of work.
Yeah.
So this is like, or we have people in these mastermind meetings now where they're just hiring each other right out of the meeting. Where it's like, look, I notice you show up. I know you're kind of new, but you show up, you ask great questions. You know what? Let me connect you with this other tax business owner that needs somebody just like you. And instead of just throwing you to that tax business owner, show up to that tax business owner and say, I'm already in the Dream Team program. So I already have access to basically a college degree equivalent of education and support that I can access at any time. So you don't need to do all the support yourself. I'm in this program. I can get the support. If I run into issues on the return that I'm working on, I can ask you certainly as my boss, but I can also ask this other group of people. I have access to this. And so I know for me being an independent pro, I mean, back in the day when I was just floundering around trying to like, how do you do a corporation and putting that into Google and things like that? I mean, so it's a nice time to be in the industry. You plug into the right group or a couple groups of people, you can be highly successful on your own terms, and setting what your vision is for your career. And so that's just the positive message that you want to bring. And it's a realistic message. The great thing about the tax business, Christian, is that people think about quitting all the time, but they look at other businesses and they're like, I don't know. Real estate, that's a tough game. Marketing, that's a tough game, right? So let's give each other and let's give ourselves a chance to do this business in the way that meets what we want and also what serves our clients. And if we can do that, we can get clear on that and we can go through the process of doing that, because it doesn't mean we need to have everything figured out right away. There's going to be a process. There's going to be some 3 steps back, or 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. There's going to be some of that. There's going to be some times where not everything works out perfectly. We all know that. But just to be saying, you know what, I have a clear vision of where I want to go. And I have a group of people between TaxProMarketer, between us, between a few other resources and allies that you can have. I mean, it makes it fun. It makes it fun to actually be in the tax industry. And it's just, I think it's a great time in the industry. I think it's the best time that I've ever seen to be a tax professional. And we're just excited to be a small part of people enjoying the ride.
Oh, man. And I'm grateful for you, man. You're an awesome man, a good leader. And I appreciate you leading this group and the folks that are with you in the way that you do, in the spirit you do, because it does bless people and helps them. And yeah, what a fun time. And that's an interesting thing to part on. What a fun time to be in the tax and accounting industry. And that may not be how people feel right now as they're sitting by themselves, maybe a little bit lost in the woods, but here's a guide and here's a group that can help. So if that's you at all, prontotaxschool.com or prontotaxschool.com/subscribe. We'll get that added to the show notes. So you should see that beneath this recording, depending on where you're watching it. Just go and grab those links. And yeah, Andy, again, this is probably not the last time we're going to have you. Lots more in the future, I'm sure, that we can talk about, but thank you for taking time out of your day to talk to the folks in the Pro Marketer podcast. And yeah, we'll have to do this again, my man. We'll have to do this again soon.
I enjoyed it, man. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks to everybody who has watched and or listened to the podcast. It's really an honor to be here with Christian and with you. And yeah, we appreciate you. Enjoy the ride.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you guys soon.